What's up, YouTube? It's your boy King Cobra. We got ourselves some delicious steaks. Yes, we got the fucking pan plugged in. We're gonna go ahead and turn it up to a medium heat. And then while we're getting this ready, we're gonna do a couple things. One, we're gonna plop some butter. I'll turn it off for a second. We're going to add some Country Crock butter for our steaks to marinate in, plus some beer. So stick with me, folks. This is part one, making some steaks. Part two is going to be really, really delicious. So we're going to grab our butter. I want to plop. I'm going to smear that around. Two big old scoops. Yeah. That's enough butter for our pan, for our steaks. For the bottom half at least, yes. So we're going to take our Country Crock. I'm going to put some butter in there. And then we're going to splash it with some beer. So we're going to grab ourselves a Bud Light. And we're going to pour some into our freaking pan. There we go. Now we're going to turn the heat on to a medium. While our pan turns on to a medium heat and that butter melts, let's get our steaks ready. We got some steaks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fry these steaks up, and then we're going to Cobra-fy it. Make it even tastier. So now we're going to take our Russ County all meat seasoning. Right there. This is our pan. Beautiful. We're going to grab a fork. Nope. Alright. While that butter is melting away in that beer and that greasy goodness, excuse me, we're going to grab our steak and we're going to tenderize it with a fork. Poke a bunch of holes in it. It's been thawed to room temperature, so we're just going to tenderize it with some holes. Now that we poked a bunch of holes in it, we'll take our meat seasoning. We're going to add a sprinkle, a very light sprinkle of seasoning to our steak. I'm going to drop the steak in there just like that. And we're going to repeat the same step. This is only part one of the video, YouTube. We'll take our steak and we're going to poke it and stab it with some holes. And drop it in that butter and that grease and that. I cleaned the pan out so it's a fresh pan. So we got butter and beer for our fresh fresh grease. So I'm going to take the steak and just take a fork. It's been thawed to room temperature and just kind of stab it through so all that flavor seeps in. Beautiful. Then we're going to add a little bit of our seasoning. Season side down first. And then we're going to throw on some seasoning on top. Perfect amount, baby. Look at that steak action. Oh, that's just sexy. Yes. Now we're going to add some butter to the top of our steak. And we're going to let it cook up. Now once the steak has been cooked up, yes, once the steak has been cooked up, we're going to debone it and cut it into strips for extra dankness for part 2. All right. I'm going to throw on some butter on top. So we're going to use this grease for later. That's enough butter and grease for our pan. We'll go and put the butter away. Using that Country Crock Original, baby. Not a sponsor. Now into our pan we have 2 steaks that are cooking up. Pour a splash of beer on top. Just like that. Perfect. Now we're going to sit here and chill out and let those steaks cook in that buttery beer love with that seasoning. Bloop. Just like that. Yes. We're going to cook it to a rare to a medium rare consistency. And then we're going to plate it up, cut it into strips, debone it, and then part 2 will happen. Oh, snap. You want to get that flip action? Fuck yeah, YouTube. Cooking video part 1, motherfucker. Now, if you want to cook steak, that's the way to do it. At this point, you just kind of flip it and let it do its thing and cook naturally. But we're about to Cobrafy this recipe and make it even more dank, YouTube. Oh, yes. All that butter and that grease from the steak and the beer and the butter. And a splash of vegetable oil to fry up our steak pieces when we recut it and reintroduce it. But that's on part 2. You ever fried steak and butter and beer with some Russ County all meat seasoning? It's a delicious, YouTube. Oh, snap. Oh, that looks and smells delicious. Should we give it a flip? A flip for the camera. These have been thawed to room temperature. So we'll go ahead and we're going to flip these. Give those a flip. All that butter and that beer is going to melt together and just create a nice, really awesome base for our steak. Oh, that looks good. YouTube? Yes. Look at it. Yummy. So I want to see you cool cobras when that steak is done being cooked, and then we'll do part 2.